All right, hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor. As you can see, I'm in the studio by myself. I got my buddy Jimmy on Zoom and Mo, he's on Zoom. Guys, it's kind of different. I feel kind of lonely in here, but I'm glad I'm able to see your smiling faces.
I'm kind of lonely too, Taylor, to be honest with you. I wish I was there with you, buddy.
I think I need to leave.
I said smiling faces.
Well, I mean, y'all seem like y'all need to hug it out a little bit. So
We're not afraid. We're not afraid, Mo.
No, but the hugs were last week. I'm good this week.
Yeah. So, guys,
yes,
coming off a big win, a little bit different than what I anticipated, to be honest. I think I predicted we'd score 45. I did say they would score a little bit. We see that didn't happen. Jimmy, your initial take. I mean, we expected the defense to respond, but what are your thoughts? We kind of went silent in the second half offensively.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that defense first. I hope the defense we saw Saturday is the one we've been expecting to show up all year. So we'll see if they can carry that on in a couple of weeks when we play LSU down there in LSU. I know they're kind of clicking on all cylinders right now offensively. So I'll be interested to see how we show up. But that defense, man, I was extremely happy to see that defense. Extremely happy to see Eli Ricks out there, the transfer from LSU, had an outstanding game. And so I was absolutely thrilled to see the defense finally show up and just basically shut somebody down.
So what you're saying is you can see if we can be consistent and do that again.
Yes. I mean, we haven't been consistent all year. I mean, we've had some decent showings against lesser opponents on the defensive side of the ball. But then when we need the defense to show up and play a game, then they don't. Vice versa on the offense.
Maurice, is consistency going to be the word for the 2022 season?
probably so. I mean, let me rephrase that. It was up until this past Saturday. And I think there was some awakenings, as we should say, in spirited practices. And just FYI, I'm the only one wearing an Alabama shirt. This is my Alabama alumni T-shirt that I got for a small donation. Anyway, I got a sweatshirt, but it's kind of warm here. No, I thought, well, first I thought the scheme was a lot better. They did a lot of pressing up front, took away the slants, which, for the love of Pete, tired of seeing everybody slanting on us, and did a good job of playing some press coverage. And I got to ask why. What is it about Eli Ricks that prevented him from playing this entire year? He did come out, and Jimmy probably saw it because he stays up on social media than either of us, where Eli had sent something out on Twitter implying something about LSU. I don't know, but I thought he played a heck of a game. I thought the entire defense did. I will go as far as to say, we're ranked number 6 in the country. And you know me, I'm not one to, sugarcoat or anything. I'm more critical of them than anybody else. I think this is definitely a top 4 team, if not the best team, whenever they're on all cylinders. So,
well, there was some rumor that Ricks just had a hard time coming in every day at practice and showing what he showed us Saturday night. Now, maybe he was pouting a little bit because the expectation when he was going to come in and be a starter, and he didn't do that. So I don't know. I do know that he looked like a absolute All-American based on what we saw. I mean, I think, Jimmy, it was you that sent out some stats that said he had, 10 passes thrown at him, only 1 completion, several pass breakups. I mean, the guy literally was the definition of a lockdown defender, Saturday night. Now, listen, I have to say the same thing for Kool-Aid. Kool-Aid looked really good as well, especially early on. I know late in the game, there was a few passes that were thrown at him, but as I said, man, that back shoulder throw, when it is executed correctly, it's almost impossible to defend when it's executed correctly. Now, I'd like to see their percentage because they threw it a lot, but they didn't complete it often. And so Yeah, I mean, those guys played really well. Man, I really love DeMarco Hellams when he's coming downhill. You know, I think I made the statement during the game, that joker needs to play linebacker. Because when he comes downhill, he'll put it on you, and he plays so much better moving forward as opposed to trying to cover moving backward. Does anyone agree or disagree with that?
Remind you of Mark Barron.
A lot of Mark Barron. That's exactly right.
Yeah, guys, we should never see Hellams matched up like he was matched up against Tennessee, because that's not him. He's what we saw this past Saturday in the box, crashing down hard. And if he's in that position, then along with Ricks on the outside, and of course everything we've already been getting from the line and those defensive ends we have, I mean, this defense again could potentially still be one of the all-time greats, minus that little hiccup against Tennessee. But speaking of the defense, did anybody notice that Dale and Otis didn't play?
Yeah,
Didn't dress out?
well, I knew that they weren't in the game. I mean, I knew that they mentioned it early that they were injured.
Yeah.
Listen, we've done fairly well having to shift and move some people to the interior part of the D line. And, you saw Anderson moving around a lot. I mean, Byron Young played a fantastic game. And I think we could go on and on about the defense. Yes, Jimmy, to your point, when we first started the show, this is the defense that we've expected all year.
Yeah. And it was against a not too shabby offense.
Correct.
Speaking of the defense too, did anybody, I'm assuming we all saw at the end of the game when they scored that touchdown, Hellams getting mad. I mean, we haven't seen that all year. It was the last play of the game.
Yeah, I agree, Maurice. I think that's what you've been alluding to throughout the year.
I want somebody to get in somebody else's ear hole and tell them where they messed up, and that happened because you weren't focused in, kind of like Rolanda McClain used to do. And
Maurice, it's kind of funny. They even referenced that during the game. I think it was Kirk Herbstreit, as a matter of fact, because he was out in Pasadena when we played Texas, and it referenced Rolanda McClain chewing Tony Brown because he wasn't focused the day before the championship game.
Right. And that's what you need. When we talk about leadership, it's also that guy that's not scared, no matter what the size of that player is, because it's out of respect. If he says something, Minkah Fitzpatrick, if he says something, you're going to listen.
It's like he had Putnam.
Yes. So I applaud Hellams for doing that, and I wish he would do it a little bit more, or even Toa to do it. Anybody, I don't care.
Yeah, that's right. Anybody do it. That's right. Anybody.
Right. Well, I think you saw the potential of what could happen, against a pretty good offense. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, Mississippi State was ranked nationally offensively. Of course, the kid threw it 60 times, and we knew that coming in. We knew he was going to throw it a lot. And I was a little nervous about that. I mean, I think that's why I said they would score, 21-ish points. So I'm very, very happy with the fact that we held them until literally the last play of the football game.
And I'm really surprised that as much as we were cheating up with the safety, that it wasn't a stop and go, because Hellams was inching up on every snap when they were trying to run the ball. But I give credit. It was a great game plan defensively, and good called game. So I was happy with it.
Well, let's take a quick break. I know you guys are on the road. We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna come back and talk a little bit more about the game. Of course, we got an off week, bye week this week, which is good. Gives everybody a chance to heal some bumps and bruises. But Tide fans, hold your seats. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
I know Beam. I used to watch cartoons and sports on their TV, and now I use their internet.
Take it from Javion Cohen, all SEC team offensive lineman.
Beam, it's the choice of champions.
Like Javion said, it is the internet choice of champions. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
What is community? Is it a neighborhood? The businesses and homes inside it? Maybe community isn't just a place. Maybe it's a state of mind that when we care together, cheer together, we're closer to what really counts. At Beam, we're finding new ways to bring us all closer. And you'll find us right out there with you, because community is always on our mind. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. We were talking right there just a lot about the defense. We love to see, the things that we saw. Helms played really well. Just everyone really kind of played collectively and did their job. But Jimmy, there has to be a little bit of concern, and I know we'll discuss it. I mean, we literally went pretty much silent offensively. And that's concerning. It reminded me of the national championship game against Georgia, where you really see Bryce Young trying to do everything to keep us in the game, to give us a chance. And I'm going to just tell you, against really good teams, that is not a great offensive strategy.
Yeah. I mean, again, another head scratcher. It's like, what do we look? I mean, week to week, why are we on such a roller coaster ride? And again, I go back to what I've been saying all year. The offensive coordinator, man, he's so inconsistent in his planning. I don't know what he sees. He obviously doesn't adjust to anything. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what happened in that second half.
Well, listen, some of the success we had was merely because Bryce Young extended plays with his feet, and we were able to find an open receiver, because
there ain't no doubt.
You can't cover a receiver all day long. They were dropping 8. I get it. But if we know they're dropping 8, we got to have something in place to prepare for that. And it didn't look like we ever adjusted to it. Maurice?
Yep. No, I didn't like, I really wish, I don't mind the screens. I wish we had more of that. I really don't see that many draws either. But yes, it was Bryce, who you and I mentioned this last year when he first started. He's one of the best scramblers. And by that, for anybody that's watching thinking that means Michael Vick or Cam Newton, no, it means staying behind the line of scrimmage, right, and keep play alive and making a connection like he did. I don't know. I'm going to go back to, I think our 2 best receivers are freshmen. I don't see a great effort. Although JoJo Earl is coming back and, he's looking good, but as far as that, Brooks and what's the other? Holden doesn't do anything for me.
I mean,
let me bring this up. I'm sorry, Sean. Let me bring this up. Talking about Brooks, because I was actually going to bring him up and say that he may be the guy finally stepping up. He's second on the team right now in receptions, only behind Jamar Gibbs. First in receiving yards and first in touchdowns. He's the only guy making plays, if you ask me, consistently. Now, again, Earl had a few touches. I think we still got Harold. I mean, he finally caught a pass and showed up finally, and I think he's going to be somebody that we can count on. But I think Brooks is the guy that's maybe finally stepping up with a little more consistency than what we've seen out of the receiver group.
I feel like Isaiah Bonds.
Again, for me, I'm not so sure that it's not that we don't have the talented receivers. I'm still concerned about the routes package that we're running against what the defense is giving us. Now, I don't know enough about what they do. You listen to them talk all night about Mike Leach and his short playbook, but the number of route options off of a particular call, I just don't see us get open enough. I mean, we don't have the guy that's just going to go up on a 50-50 ball and get it, in my opinion, and, just compete for the football. We're either wide open and we catch a pass, or Bryce has to scramble around to get someone open. I don't know that in that game, I remember us just dropping back and throwing a ball to an open receiver. Now, I'm not talking about a dump off to Jahmyr Gibbs, something underneath or short. I'm just talking about just dropping back and throwing a ball. It was almost like every single time he's having to point and wait and move. And to me, that is route combinations and route running.
But I go back.
Because we can't do it.
Let's go
Go ahead,
back to what we've said for the past 2 weeks. Going back to Jameson last year when we first saw him get on the same page. I still don't see that. I saw a play the other night where I believe it was Brooks just went out for a route and sat. And I'm like, dude, you got the guy is right on you. You got to slide over. You got to keep moving. You're not giving him a target. And that's what frustrates me is, are you guys really recognizing the coverage and going to those spots? I got to believe Bryce knows it because he did it last year. So by process of elimination, it's got to be the receivers to me that are looking for that spot or those spots.
And then ultimately, I'm going to go and say our offensive line's got to do a better job. We didn't run the football effectively enough. We had a few, moments where we looked good running it, but it was few and far between.
Did we? 29 total yards rushing.
Yeah, well, I'm talking, the one touchdown that Jahmyr Gibbs ran off the right side. I mean, he went untouched.
Was half our yards or 3/4 of our yards for the entire day.
Yeah, I mean, we're just not going, in my opinion, to be able to compete with the really good teams if they're going to load the box, stop the run, and force us to throw it. I'm waiting for some receiver to step up and show out, and I just hadn't. Maybe it is going to be Harrell. I don't know. Was it just me, or maybe it was just because he was wearing number 8? But kind of reminded me of Julio Jones with his height and his build. I mean, he was a good-looking guy. I'd never seen him before until Saturday night. And maybe it was just because he's wearing number 8, but he looked to be like a good-looking kid, and he's supposed to be extremely fast. I don't know why we didn't just try blowing him off the top one time and letting him run past somebody, and let's see if we can throw it up and make a catch.
Or at least
I've seen that pretty much all year.
At least stretch the defense so that they have to respect it. Yeah.
Honor it at least.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. And that's the way I feel. I don't think all year I don't want to jump on the hate Bill O'Brien bandwagon, but it seems like there should be some packages where we're stretching the defense where, you've got to back out of here. And that will open up the running game. But at the same time, you're either going to get a PI, incomplete.
Yeah.
Could be exception, but you got to get.
Come on, Mo. There's plenty of room on this wagon. You can sit right next to me.
Well,
look, I'll tell you this, what I read, and again, Mississippi State runs some kind of 3-3-5 defense.
yes.
Those 3 linebackers, they read. If it's a rush, they stack they fill those gaps and come to the line of scrimmage. If they see pass, they drop back. So basically, almost every pass play that we were running, essentially they were in a zone, some kind of zone coverage with 8 people back in coverage. But if we know that going into the game, again, goes back to Bob. Where are the different designs? Where are some routes that are exposing those holes in that? Because again, man, I can
tell you this, Jimmy. I know that we dropped 8 into coverage a lot against Tennessee, and they threw for 400 yards.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. I know we got to figure it out. LSU is going to be a challenge. They're playing really well right now. We're playing in Death Valley at night, so it is going to be a big test. But before we get into all that, let's take another break. We'll come back and discuss a few things. Our kicker finally found his groove again, but Tide fans, hold your seats. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Beam is delivering gig speed internet to 100% of our network. But should you get a gig? Well, if you want to download an album in a blink, video conference in 4K, make virtual reality more real, power all of your home smart devices at the same time, and still have bandwidth to stream everything without buffering? Then yeah, you gotta get a gig. So call, click, or visit and get it. Because when you gotta get a gig, you gotta go with Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
I know Beam. I used to watch cartoons and sports on their TV, and now I use their internet.
Take it from Javion Cohen, all SEC team offensive lineman.
Beam. It's the choice of champions.
Like Javion said, it is the internet choice of champions. Beam, bringing East Alabama more.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Look, we missed stats with Jimmy last week. I think we were so bothered by the Tennessee loss that we talked more about that. But
Depression.
Jimmy, let's go ahead. Give us some statistics that you have prepared for us today. Stats with Jimmy.
All right, here we go, Tide fans. Again, kind of back to what I usually do with our offensive defensive stats. So right now, the offense is clipping at 43.1 points per game, which is still second in the conference and fifth overall. Again, not too shabby as much as we want to hate, or as much as I want to hate on Bob. We're still, ranked fairly high in those categories. Rushing, we did take a step back. Obviously, you don't rush for 29 yards. You're going to take a step back, but we're still rushing for 211 yards a game, which is good for fourth in the league and 17th overall, which again, just a couple of weeks ago, we were third overall in the country and first in the league. Passing, we're at 274 a game, which is good for fourth in the league and 34th overall. Total yards, we're at 485, fifth in the league and 15th overall. Again, we dropped back a little bit there. Defensively, again, we're actually on pace to be better than we were last year, even though we gave up 100 points to Tennessee. We're at 16.6 a game, third in the league, 11th overall in the country, giving up 94 yards rushing a game, which is good for third in the league and 10th in the country. 201 yards passing, which is good for seventh and 34th overall. Total yards of defense, 295, again, which is not too shabby, holding our opponents under 300 yards, which is third in the league and 15th in the country. And one stat that I always like using on the defensive side, we're still first in the league and sixth in the country at third down percentage. We're still only giving up 26% third down conversions, which that can win. And I mean, that's the reason why we stay in so many games and we're not playing very well, because the defense is getting off the field. A couple other things I'll point out real quick. One that we always like to talk about is our penalties. Lowest penalties we've had in the Saban era, I believe. I know the lowest we've had in recent memory, only 3 this past game, but we're still 12th in the league and 118th in the country at a little over 72 yards a game of penalties. And then a few things from this past week. We had 15 passes broken up this past week alone, which is a record for a Saban-led team for Alabama. We have 39 breakups for the season, which is good for first in the conference. And then also right now, and another thing that we haven't talked about, because it doesn't feel like we've been getting as many as we had last year, but right now we have 23 sacks, which is good for, we're actually tied with the league with Ole Miss. Our buddy, number 31 on the end there, Mr. Anderson, he actually had him another sack this past week. He's got 6 for the year, which doesn't seem like a lot, but that's also good for second in the conference. And so I just want to throw those out there to us as well.
Maurice, if there was one thing that you wanted to see come next Saturday night in Death Valley, what would that be?
Confidence. And by that, and I posted it, I don't know if you probably didn't see it last week, when Will Anderson and Saban said that there was a lot of anxiety coming out of the tunnel at Neyland Stadium, which I said champions give their opponents anxiety, not the other way around.
Right.
So when I say that, and we have, going back to 1968, we have an incredible record at Death Valley. That's no guarantee of anything, but I hope we walk into that Tiger Stadium with the confidence, knowing that this is ours. We got bigger things to accomplish. We're going to put these guys away and we're going to make you pay for it. So that's what I'm looking for from an
Jimmy,
emotional. So,
Jimmy, if you wanted to see one thing, what would it be?
I mean, I would like to see both sides of the ball play well in the same game for once this year. And back to that word consistency, some consistency out of both sides of the ball. I don't want the defense to play well and the offense struggle or vice versa. I want to see both units play well, put a complete game together, and show the country, show us Tides fans in the country what this team is capable of. And I think we're, again, the best team in the country if that'll ever happen.
well, the one thing I do like about the Tennessee game is we now have anti-rat poison. So there's no, if there's any cockiness or overconfidence on this team, I don't see where because you're ranked number 6, you're on the outside looking in, and you got a lot to prove. Your back's against the wall with no room whatsoever for a mistake.
I think for me, if it was a one-word description, or if there one thing that I was looking for, it would be attitude. And I mean that to kind of go with the confidence statement. I want to see the attitude from all of the players offensively and defensively. I want to see the chip on the shoulder that, you know, you carry, even though you're playing in Alabama and everyone has a target, you know, everyone's out to get us, and we generally get everyone's best. I want to see the attitude of now the doubters. You know, Paul Feinbaum, I don't know if he's doing it for the motivation or if he firmly believes it, but yeah, stirring the pot. But he, you know, he's talking about, you know, Saban's dynasty is kind of
Over.
yeah, it's over. And we'll know that after the LSU game. You know, that's going to be I want to see the attitude from the players that, hey, we are Alabama, and we're going to show you why we come to play at Alabama. It is for these games. It is for these seasons. It is for these SEC championships. And then, of course, playoffs and potential national championships. That's what I want to see. I want to see attitude.
I saw the other night for the first time this year a reputable opponent like Mississippi State, and I love the kid Will Smith, but Will Rogers. But anyway, he wanted that game to be over. Dude, he took a beating and he was ready. So I want every team to feel that, to say, I want this game to be over.
I agree with that.
Well, we got 2 weeks to get there. There should be no excuse.
Got an opportunity to get some guys well, get Bryce Young some rest, get some other guys some rest, maybe get Harrell some more reps, maybe get him, you know, involved in the offense a little bit more. I'm really, you know, anxious to see. All I keep hearing is about how fast he is, and all I keep not seeing from us offensively is us taking the top off and just, you know, dropping back and throwing a deep ball, and somebody just running a go route and just running by somebody and seeing if we can make a play. You know, like you said, Maurice, just to stretch the defense out, make them honor that. You know, I don't know that we've really seen that all year. I'm not saying we haven't thrown the ball downfield, but I'm talking about, you know, 5-step drop, plant your back foot and throw it and let somebody go get it. And
let's kind of look at it, you know, from O'Brien and Saban's point of view. What is the condition of Bryce's shoulder? They were talking about the other day, still going through a lot of rehab. Did they not want to throw it deep? Were they scared to injure it more? That's why you saw so many short routes.
Yeah, maybe so. So real quick, Jimmy, what's your prediction? LSU in 2 weeks?
Oh, prediction time. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it much, you know, with a couple of weeks to go. But I mean, again, I think if we show up and play, I mean, we could play our B game, I think, and beat these guys. I mean, regardless of what they're doing lately. But I think, you know, from prediction standpoint, I think it'll be like a 38-17 type of game.
Well, I'm going to give you some grace because we do have another week. So we'll come back and talk more about, I'll let you stew on that.
Okay.
We'll come back next week and we'll talk a little bit about some predictions. We do have another week off. I'm getting kind of ahead of myself, kind of excited. Jimmy Blaze has already sent me a text and said, we got y'all in Death Valley at night. And,
Mhm.
you know, so.
You've had us there for 50 years. So
Yeah.
A
Did you
little
tell
bit
him
of
that don't bother
banter.
us?
What's that?
Did you tell him that don't bother us?
Now, obviously, we're not scared of that.
Yeah.
But guys, we will come back and do this again next week. We'll kind of highlight and preview the LSU game, maybe get into a little bit more detail with that. It'll be Brian Kelly's first time, you know, in an LSU coaching role against Nick Saban. So that ought to be interesting. But next week, right here on Channel 207, we'll do it again. Hopefully, Jimmy, you'll be in the studio with me. Maybe one day, Mo, you might be in the studio with us, and we'll all three be here.
that would be great.
All right.
Sounds
Tide
good.
fans, we'll see you next week right here on Tide Talk. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.